Hey, how's it going? This is Pastor Brian Anderson. We have another video today, and this one's really a response. Someone came up to me today and asked me about a video that I put out yesterday, which was that we are to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And they were saying, well, does that mean that we are commanded by Jesus to love ourselves? Now, that's kind of a popular idea in the world today. The world's always telling us that you need to love yourselves. You need to coddle yourselves, pamper yourselves. Is that what Jesus is teaching in Matthew 22:39? Well, let's look at it. Jesus said, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So Jesus doesn't command us here to love ourselves. He commands us to love our neighbor. And he commands us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. In other words, he's telling us, love your neighbor as much as you already love yourself. The fact that we love ourselves is given. I mean, we were products of the fall. We're born sinners into this world. And part of that sin nature that we're born with is a self-absorption, a self-centeredness, a selfishness. We are more concerned about ourselves. We think about ourselves more than we think about anybody else. We work harder to get things for ourselves than we do for anybody else. And so Jesus is turning it around. And he's saying, I want you to love your neighbor as much as you already love yourself. In 1 Timothy 4, verses 1-3, Paul writes to Timothy, and he says, in the last days, difficult times will come, for men will be lovers of self. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, let's just keep reading. Lovers of money, boastful, arrogant, revilers, disobedient to parents, ungrateful, unholy. In other words, being a lover of self is classified together with all of these other sinful actions. Therefore, being a lover of self is not a virtue. It's something that we need to shun, that we need to turn from, that we need to avoid and abstain from. So I know sometimes people will say things like, I just hate myself. Well, if that were really true, if someone were to come up to you and scream obscenities at you and spit in your face and punch you in the stomach, you ought to really like that. You ought to really welcome that because someone's doing a bad thing to someone that they actually hate. But you don't react that way, do you? You don't react that way because you really don't hate yourself. You may hate what you perceive others think about you, or you may hate the fact that you are not as gifted or as popular or as smart or as beautiful or handsome as other people are. That might be true, but you really don't hate yourself. Intrinsically, you love yourself. Generally speaking, the more a person lives for God and others, the more holy they are. And the more a person lives for himself and is absorbed with self, the less holy and more dominated by sin that person actually is. So my friend, you already love yourself. Now it's just time for all of us to seek to love others as much as we already love ourselves.